What up, guys? GangstaPranksta here, back with a brand new episode of the Not So Weekly Wrestling Review. If you're new to the show, this is where we talk everything about professional wrestling, from news, reviews to predictions. We talk about it all, so welcome to the show. On today's show, we're going to be reviewing a couple pay-per-views. We're going to be reviewing Ring of Honor's Best in the World 2014 and TNA Slammiversary 2014. And, of course, all the regular shows, RAW, Smackdown, Impact, NXT, Ring of Honor, and some wrestling. So, let's just jump right into the reviews, because we got a lot to talk about with these two pay-per-views. So let's start off with Slammiversary 2014. Going into this show, not too excited for some of the stuff that was going on. I was enjoying the TNA product at the time somewhat. Things I like, things I don't like. And I like the whole thing with MVP Eric Young. Not the whole storyline, but I was just looking forward to that match. Sadly, that didn't end up happening on Slammiversary because MVP got injured on like an indie show. And then it fucked up the whole main event of the show. So, of course, what ended up happening was they were going to do the main event, triple threats, winner of Lashley and Joe, and winner of Kenny King and Austin Aries. Originally, when I watched this show, and I watched it live when it happened back forever ago, and I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, I'm so pissed that Slammiversary no longer has the King of the Mountain match. Now, given that the match itself is a stupid concept, where it's a reverse ladder match and there's this penalty box of cage, I like that portion. But the whole reverse ladder match, it's kind of dumb. And then you got a pin to be eligible. It was interesting, but at the same time, it's dumb. I miss it. I would like to see it back in TNA. What I originally had thought when I watched the pay-per-view, I'm like, take the winner of the X Division match, the winner of Lashley Joe, the winner of Aries Kenny King, and you could take the winner of Mr. Anderson James Storm. Bam, 4 people plus Eric Young. Throw him in a King of the Mountain match. That'd be fucking awesome. Sadly, we didn't end up getting that. Like I said, we got the triple threat with the winner of Joe, Lashley, and Kenny King, Austin Aries. That was whatever. We'll talk about that in a second. But like I said, going into the show, only match I was really excited for was Eric Young MVP. That didn't end up happening, so it kind of like lowered my morale going into this, where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this show. I'm not gonna hate it. I'm not gonna love it. I'm just gonna watch it, and if I enjoy it, I enjoy it. If not, I don't. And I'm happy to say, overall, TNA Slammiversary was a good show. I enjoyed most of it. We'll talk about the stuff that I don't like. So let's talk about the start of the show. First match, actually something I don't like, but we'll get to that in a second. So first match, Davey Richards, Sonata, Eddie Edwards, Manic, Crazy Steve, Tigre Uno, 6-man X Division clusterfuck ladder match. Good match. Nothing to complain about the match. Sonata wins. Great way to start the show. Very fast paced. A lot of action. It was too short. Two complaints. One, too short. And the second complaint is, what the fuck are the Wolves doing in the match? So you have the Wolves, who are the tag team champions, and you throw them in to this fucking X Division match because, hey, they're our champions, and we should probably do something with them. But instead of putting them in a tag team title match, which I'll talk about a potential match that they could have been in, we're going to throw them in this X Division clusterfuck because, you know, why the fuck not? And I hate it because it's like, they're a good team. They shouldn't be fighting each other, and plus, they've never shown an inkling, like a desire to go after the X Division title, so the whole thing was just dumb. What I'd rather have seen, and what this kind of ties in with the whole Von Erich thing, which should we talk about it now? Whatever, we'll cover the Von Erich match right now. So, what I originally would have liked happen was Jesse Godder's DJZ, Menagerie, the Wolves, 3-way tag team match for the tag team titles. I would have rather had that on this card, and that would have been the tag team title match. Then that would have worked, because you could add the Freak and Nux do the tag team, and then Crazy Steve could still be in the X Division. Okay, so yeah, it could still work out. So you'd have Sonata, Manic, Crazy Steve, Tigre Uno in the four-way ladder match, which would have been still would have been good. And then you have the Wolves, Menagerie, DJZ, and Jesse as the Bromans. Three-way TNA Tag Team title match would have worked perfectly, right? They didn't end up doing that. They put the Wolves in the X Division match, which on one hand, I like it because it's MVP asserting his authority. Okay, I'm just going to make you guys fight because I can do that. And I don't like you guys, and I'm going to make you do whatever I want you guys to do. So it's good from that point of view, and I guess it makes sense, but it was still dumb just throwing them in there. They're a tag team. They shouldn't be fighting over singles gold. And TNA's done this a lot in the past, where they have like an X Division clusterfuck match, and they're like, we're going to throw the machine guns in there. The Motor City Machine Guns. We're going to throw the Young Bucks. Even though they're a tag team, we're just going to throw them in there because, you know, why the fuck not? And I've hated it. I hate it when they do it, and it's dumb. So we'll just kind of skip over. Actually, no, we'll talk about the Von Erich stuff later on. So yeah, good match. Short. Sonata wins. Good. It was awesome. Crazy spot in the match where Davey got powerbombed. Love the way he sold that thing. The way he just hung in the ropes and his body was just lifeless. And his head was between the ladder rings. It was awesome. I enjoyed it. Very short though. It was only like 9 minutes, which I thought sucked. Next we had Lashley versus Samoa Joe. Pretty good match. Lashley wins. Nothing really to complain about here. It's better than I thought. Like, when I see Samoa Joe wrestle now, it's like, oh man, like before I'd be like, oh shit, this is going to be a great match. Can't wait. Now it's just like, you know, it's just going to be kind of whatever now because he's not what he used to be, and I kind of accepted that, but I still think like, oh, Joe's going to be that Joe, I'm going to kill you Joe, and not Joe of now, which I don't really like too much. So they had a pretty good match. It was whatever, nothing to complain about. Lashley wins, so he ends up qualifying for the main event. So there's now Lashley, Eric Young, it's Lashley versus Eric Young versus the winner of Austin Aries and Kenny King, which we'll talk about in a second. Next, you had Magnus versus Willow. Pretty good match. Magnus wins. A lot of interference between Bram and Abyss. They fought a lot on the outside. I originally thought this was going to be a tag team match, but they ended up just doing the singles match. At least make it... no, I was going to say make it Bram and Willow, but that wouldn't have made sense because the whole thing was like turning Magnus back into this badass, whatever. So I guess, yeah, in that sense, do it. It was a pretty good match. Nothing really to complain about. Magnus wins, which I thought was kind of surprising, but he needed the win because to build him and Bram. Holy shit, English not working right now. So yeah, that was pretty good. Next we had Kurt Angle come out and announce the next inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame. It turned out to be Team 3D. And one thing I want to talk about with Kurt Angle, I think it was him when he was introducing, like, kind of building up to it, like, oh, TNA Hall of Fame, so special. He said a line. Now, this isn't a quote, but he said something along these lines. You really haven't made it in professional wrestling until you're in the Hall of Fame. And I laughed when he said that, because, like, TNA's Hall of Fame is kind of, you know, pretty much non-existent. And for that to be a big honor is a complete fucking lie. And I just kind of laughed at it. But anyways, so they announced that Team 3D kind of took me by surprise. I completely didn't expect it. I was like, okay, they're in Texas. The Von Erichs are wrestling. Maybe it's Kevin Von Erich, because his son's wrestled. And then I'm like, okay, that could be a potential. There was another person I thought it was going to be. Shit, who was it? Fuck, it's not coming to me right now. But there's a couple other people that I thought it might be, and didn't end up doing it, or end up being them. It ended up being Team 3D, which I can see that happening. They've been in TNA a while. They've done a lot of stuff in the tag team division. Not lately, because of course they've had their singles runs for the past 3-4 years. So, you know, it's cool. Induct them into the Hall of Fame. People shit on TNA's Hall of Fame. You got no TNA guys. You got Sting, you got Angle, and now you got Team 3D. The TNA Hall of Fame is not a big deal. It does not matter who goes in, and who cares? So, people make a big deal about it, just ignore it because it's not really a big deal, to be honest. So yeah, Team 3D goes in. The crowd actually goes fucking apeshit for them. They go nuts, chant, "We want tables, Team 3D. You still got it," all that kind of stuff. And the Dudleys are just like, "Hey, thank you. You know, we're gonna get inducted, Bound for Glory, which we'll talk about later." And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, Team 3D, the next inductees in the TNA Hall of Fame, the prestigious TNA Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, prestigious TNA Hall of Fame. So there's that. Next you had Kenny King versus Austin Aries. These guys had a good match. Really enjoyed this one. Aries ended up winning. Nothing really to complain too much. They had a good match. Nothing really else to say. Aries wins, so the main event is now official. It's going to be Aries, Lashley, Eric Young, three-way for the TNA title in a steel cage match. So, yeah, I was excited. I was excited Aries won, because I like Aries, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. So after this, we had the Von Erichs versus DJZ and Jesse Goddard. Reason for this, Robbie E., I think he was recording The Amazing Race around this time, I believe, so he wasn't in TNA. So Jesse and DJZ started doing most of the tagging. They had a match with the Von Erichs, and I'm here to talk about it. This match was okay. I'm not here to shit on the match. The match was what it was. It was okay. The Von Erichs are still really green. But it was okay for what it was. So Von Erichs win by DQ after Jesse attacks them with a chair. Good. I'm glad the Von Erichs did not beat them cleanly. You know, the oh my god, Bromans win by DQ, so they don't look like shit. But I want to talk about that. Okay, so we'll talk about the whole thing. I'm just gonna go through the whole match. After the match, Kevin Von Erich comes out because his sons are getting attacked by the Bromans. And he comes in, attacks Jesse, gives the claw to DJZ, and the crowd went apeshit. This is probably the biggest pop of the night, was watching Kevin Von Erich come in, and the crowd went crazy. They went crazy for like a 50-year-old man. They didn't go crazy for anything else. They went crazy for this 50-year-old man putting on the claw on Zema Ion. Fucking ridiculous. But that's pro wrestling. It's craziness. So yeah, now that the match is out of the way, I want to talk about it. So as far as the match is concerned, I don't know why it happened. Like, when I was watching this live, I was like, oh, okay, cool, Von Erichs, they're going to be in TNA now. That's another team for TNA. It's going to be cool. And, that's good. I'm excited. Another team for TNA and they can do stuff with. Turns out, the Von Erichs never went back. It was just a one-time only match. It was just, they're going to wrestle this match at Slammiversary, and that's it. And after I found that out, I became very agitated, because it's like, why even have the match? Why fucking do it on pay-per-view? You have 4 pay-per-views a year, and you're going to waste it on 2 fucking green people on one of your biggest pay-per-views. Like I said, you're only having 4 pay-per-views now, and you're going to save one of those pay-per-view spots for people that don't even work with the company and have no plans to work with the company in the future. Like, I thought it was a complete waste. Why even do the match? Like I said, they should have done Wolves, Bromans, Menagerie, 3-way TNA Tag Team title match. That would have been way better. This was a waste. The Von Erichs, like I said, they never came back. They never did anything else to, like, any... I don't know if they have an interest in TNA or TNA doesn't have an interest in them. But the whole thing was pointless. It was just like, okay, they're in Texas. Texas is Von Erich country. We're going to have them in as a special little attraction thing. And then we're going to completely forget about them. And it made me frustrated because, like, okay, there's a potential another team for TNA. And have it on your pay-per-view, but then do nothing with it. Like, I just thought it was the dumbest shit ever, and it shouldn't have happened. This is probably the worst thing on the show. Actually, no. We'll talk about the worst thing on the show next. But this was kind of a low point for me, where it's like, it's pointless. Why are they doing it? You know, let's have people that work in the company on the show wrestling. It would have been better. So anyways, next, it went from worse to worse, or bad to worse. We had Gail Kim versus Angelina Love for the Knockouts title match. Pretty good match. Match was decent. Angelina wins. They have a good little match. The ending, though, holy shit, the shit that they did with the referees was god-awful and fucking ruined this match a lot. They had a good match, and then this whole shit with the referees, and he didn't count the pin, and then Earl comes out, and then... Oh, it was just the dumbest clusterfuck. It was so stupid, and it really brought down this match a lot, especially the finish. Like, it was so dumb. They could have just done something with Velvet, and then ref counts it, 1, 2, 3, boom. But no, they had to get Earl involved. Brian Stifler, I think, was the other ref. It was so fucking stupid. I hated it so much. But that's TNA and their endings. They are fabulous. So that was that. Next we have Bully Ray versus EC3 in a Texas death match. Good match. EC3 wins. Just a hardcore match. They brawled. They beat the shit out of each other. Well, more so Bully Ray beat the shit out of EC3. Chopped the living shit out of him. And just beat him up. And yeah, it was good. I got nothing to say. A lot of people didn't like the ending with Dixie getting involved. I didn't mind it because, like, you kind of, it's inevitable, right? The whole feud is kind of revolving around her and Bully wanting to put her through a table. So, obviously she's going to get involved in some capacity. And people didn't like it. It was fine. I enjoyed it. There was nothing too bad to complain about. Yeah, another thing I want to talk about, Rockstar Spud. He had a fucking awesome suit on during Slammiversary. He was wearing like a Joker attire from like the old Batman show, like in the 60s with Adam West, like what the Joker would wear. He had a nice purple suit and wearing orange and green. He looked awesome, and he's always entertaining, so, you know, Rockstar Spud. So, and he was in the match, he got involved, so that was awesome. Next, we had a match I was definitely not looking forward to. I kind of despised everything that was going on with this whole thing. James Storm, Mr. Anderson, they had a one-on-one match. It was a pretty good match, way better than I thought it was going to be. I'm like, this is going to be a shit, I'm going to have to watch it, and I didn't want to watch it, honestly. I just thought these guys were going to have a terrible match. It ended up being pretty good. You know, they were doing the whole thing with Storm fucking with the Dallas Cowboys so they could get their ESPN moments, which is whatever. And then after the match, Anderson celebrates with the Dallas Cowboys. It was whatever. And then last but not least, Lashley, Eric Young, Austin Aries' new main event for TNA Slammiversary for the TNA World title in a cage match. Good match. I enjoyed this a lot. I thought it was a solid main event to end the show. Eric Young ended up winning. It's very fast-paced. They did some crazy spots. Eric Young did a fucking elbow off the top of the cage. Lashley speared through the door, went out. They did some crazy stuff. And I love the ending. I thought the ending was awesome where Aries lifted him up for a brainbuster. And so Eric Young's up for a suplex. Aries is ready to bring him down for the brainbuster. But like as Aries is bringing him up for the suplex, Eric Young pushes his feet off the steel cage and then kind of jumps behind Austin Aries and then just pile drives him. It was fucking awesome. I love the spot. And it was just an awesome spot to end an awesome match. And I really enjoyed this to end the show. So overall, TNA Slammiversary, it was good. Like I said, it had some shit on it. But I think almost every pay-per-view has something that's kind of terrible. But I don't know. It was a good show, but it was nothing I could recommend. Like, it was nothing amazing. It was just solid. Like, oh, it was good. That's about it. If you don't watch it, you don't miss anything. And That's about it. It was a good show. Nothing I really would be like, oh shit. Maybe the main event. I enjoyed the main event. Maybe check that out. Maybe that's about it, honestly. The beginning match was good too. It was fast paced. If you like crazy, fast paced, high spots, all that kind of stuff, I recommend the ladder match. And that's about it. Overall, TNA Slammiversary, I thought it was a good show. Next, we have WWE. On WWE, around this time, they're building up towards Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank going to be a pay-per-view that we review on the next episode of the weekly wrestling review. It's going to be the first thing I watch because I'm kind of excited for this pay-per-view. Even though I watched most of it live when it happened, I remember enjoying it. I think I only watched the main event, though. And I want to watch the Usos and the Wyatt family and all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, enough about Money in the Bank. Let's talk about the build-up towards Money in the Bank. So what do we got here that I want to talk about? I know there's a couple things. Oh, yes! How could I forget? Stardust! This episode was the debut of Stardust. So, of course, Goldust getting hooked up with all these bad partners over the couple weeks. But Cody, he's like, I got a partner for you. It's fucking crazy. Stardust. And Stardust comes out, and I honestly don't know what to say. Even after watching it and seeing his backstage promos and stuff like that, I don't know what to say about Stardust. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I don't like it. It's interesting. I like Goldust. And another character kind of like Goldust, I guess I like. I really have nothing bad to say about Stardust. It's interesting. I like it. I like it a lot. And it's something different for Cody. You know, it made it seem like they were going to break up and maybe feud. But instead we get this wacky character named Stardust to team up with his brother Goldust. I like it. I like it. It's different. I definitely didn't see it coming. And I don't know what to say. It's fucking Stardust, you know. He's a fucking enigma. I don't really know. If you've never seen Stardust, you're missing. They had some pretty good backstage promos that they did on SmackDown and Raw and stuff, and those were enjoyable. And I love the one line where Goldust is like, he's doing the interview with I think Brian Saxton, and then Stardust comes in, he starts singing or something, and then Goldust is like, well, now I'm not the weird one in the family, and I got a huge pop out of that. And then he does the chomp, you know, the Goldust chomp. And I like it. I like these. It's a weird pairing, but I think it's going to work. And I'm excited to see more. So, Stardust debut, I give it a gold star. No pun intended. Actually, pun was intended. I did plan that in my head. I thought it was funny. Maybe it's funnier in my head. I don't know. What else do we got? They were building up towards the Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose feud. Of course, you know, they broke up, whatever, went their separate ways. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying seeing Rollins as a heel and, you know, team up with Triple H and Orton and the Authority. And, it's good. It looks good. It looks like he belongs. Like he doesn't stand out. Like, oh, you know, he kind of doesn't fit with them. But he fits. He's doing a great job playing up the heel. I enjoy it. Dean Ambrose, I'm enjoying his singles stuff. I like his attire that he comes out in just a wife beater and some jeans. Like he's ready to fight. I kind of compare it to like when Kevin Steen was Ring of Honor champion. And Jim Cornette would put him in all these matches. And Steen pretty much went into every match with a fight. You know, he'd come out, shirt, shorts, tape fists. Every match he knew was going to be a fight. And I kind of compare that to what Dean Ambrose is doing now with his wife beater, jeans, tape fists. Hey, let's fucking go. And I like it a lot. I think he looks badass. I mean, it probably sucks to wrestle in jeans. It gets hot, sweaty, and cannot be the most comfortable thing, but he looks like a badass doing it, so I enjoy it. And then there's Roman Reigns. I really got nothing to say about Roman. He really hasn't changed much. He's pretty much doing what he did with the Shield, but now solo. So, I want to talk about Roman for a second. I don't know why he kept the same attire. That's the one thing. Like, Dean, he changed his attire. Seth, he changed his attire. I think kind of for the worst. With the whole rubber suit that he wears now. I think it's kind of ridiculous. And then you got Roman, who's still in the fucking Shield gear, and it's kind of like, why'd you get a new, like, this was your chance to reinvent yourself, you know. Dean Ambrose reinvented himself, got a whole new attire, boom, he's got his own image. Seth Rollins, same thing, he wears suits now. When he cuts promos in the ring, he has like these rubber fucking pants, and sometimes the rubber cut off sleeves. I think that's just, I don't think he wrestles in it, I think he just comes to the ring in it. And then you got Roman, who hasn't changed a fucking thing, and it's just kind of like, kind of just blah, you know. This was your chance to like change it up, be yourself, and I don't know, I guess maybe they took a page out of my universe, you know. Remember when I brought Roman into my universe as the one-man Shield? He's kind of like that now, and I don't know, I don't like it too much. What else do we got? That's all I really want to talk about on this episode of WWE. Next we got NXT. Okay, there's something I want to talk about on NXT. The Vaudevillains. This was their debut as a tag team. Simon Gotch, Aiden English. Together they are the Vaudevillains. I've heard a lot about it. Internet fucking blew up when they debuted. I remember seeing Twitter. It was trending. Everyone was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever, blah, blah, blah. And I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's interesting. It's different. That's like a main thing that I like now. It's different. It's a throwback to something I don't think we've ever seen before. I don't think we've ever seen someone like Simon Gotch, like a circus strongman. Well, we've probably seen that, but not like what he's doing. So that's cool. And I like it. They're a good team. They mesh well together. And they have good matches. They had some good squash matches. I like that they have tag moves. That's a big thing for me. I love tag team wrestling. And then when tag teams don't do tag moves, it just makes you seem really less than of a tag team. Even if it's a fucking, hey, we're gonna double Irish whip them, and then maybe a double clothesline, or maybe I'll clothesline them, you run, maybe do an elbow. Even something as little as that. Like, okay, there's some tag team chemistry between these guys. Not like, okay, I'm gonna hit a suplex, you pin him. You know, like, that's not a fucking tag move. Or I'm gonna hold him, you punch him in the face. So they're working well together. I enjoy that. And yeah, that was the big thing. There was a lot of debuts on NXT around this time. I think they debuted Simon Gotch and the Vaudevillains, which is kind of like both of them are new, even though it's more Simon Gotch was new, Aiden English was kind of already established. And then they debuted someone else on the other episode of NXT. We'll talk about that when we get there. But they just brought in a bunch of guys and had them do stuff. You know, just bring more people into the NXT roster. Next we got Impact. Of course, the fallout from Slammiversary. What happened this episode? Oh, a lot of stuff happened this episode. Okay, I'm looking at my notes. First, new TNA World Champion. That's probably the biggest thing. We probably should have saved it for last, but we're going to talk about it first. New TNA World Champion. MVP abusing his power. And it reminded me so much of fucking when Dixie Carter did this to AJ. Like, if you go back to when that whole episode of Impact, when Dixie, when it was AJ versus Magnus for the 2 TNA titles, and they're gonna unify them, whatever. And if AJ loses, he's gone. And it was pretty much the exact same thing, to be honest. Because, like, you had Dixie, and she took all the heels and attacked all the baby faces, and then cleared out the backstage. And it's pretty much the exact same thing that they did for this episode, where MVP, Lashley, Kenny King, they just kicked everyone out, and they're just like, hey, you're out of the building. You're not going to help Eric Young. We're going to fuck him over tonight. And I just felt like it was Groundhog's Day when I was watching this episode. So anyways, MVP pissed that he's injured and Eric Young's still champion. He's like, hey, you're going to face Kenny King for the TNA World title. Then later, you're going to face Lashley. Sadly, the main event, Lashley ended up winning. Not sadly. We'll talk Lashley being champion in a second. They had a good match. Lashley wins. He's the new TNA World Champion. I like it and I don't like it. I like it in the sense of he's a credible champion. You know, like, he looks like a champion. He looks like he can kick your ass and, like, just looks, he fits the role. And then, on the other hand, I don't like it because he doesn't talk. A champion needs to cut fucking promos and say, hey, I don't care who's going to challenge me. I'm going to beat you all. And it doesn't matter because I'm the fucking best. And that's what it means to be champion. And he doesn't say a fucking word, which I really don't like. I guess, yeah, MVP is like his manager role, like his Paul Heyman. Like, compare it like Lesnar and Lashley. And then MVP Heyman. Kind of those similar roles. And, I get, yeah, that's pretty much like a good example. But, I don't know, I feel like he can cut promos for himself. He's not bad on the mic. I mean, he's got an interesting voice because it does match his whole demeanor and look. But, cut some fucking promos. Or put it on someone who can cut promos, you know? So, that was that. He's new TNA World Champion. I like it. I don't like it. And hopefully he does cut promos later. Unless it's MVP. Like, if MVP... Well, I think if he didn't get injured, he'd probably be TNA World Champion. And then Lashley and Kenny probably be a tag team or something? I don't know. But, one thing I want to talk about Kenny King. I like this role for him. I've been watching, you know, a lot of TNA, these episodes. I've been watching very closely. And I remember back when TNA debuted on Spike, they would have a lot of squash matches. Because they'd have guys like Monty Brown and Abyss and other guys that they wanted to put over strong. And I remember seeing Kenny King. I don't know why he stuck out of my memory, but I'm like, oh yeah, Kenny King. I remember him. He used to do squash matches in TNA. And, you know, he'd like get destroyed by Monty Brown or fucking Abyss or whoever. And then I remember seeing him in Ring of Honor. And I was like, oh, that's the guy that used to do jobs in TNA. And then just seeing how, like, he went from doing jobs in TNA to kind of having, like, a decent spot in the company. I like seeing that. Because, like, he was getting fucking destroyed. And now he's got a good role in the company. You know, he's one of the top heels. He's with the group. He's with the top heel act. And I enjoy it. I like seeing how he's progressed over the years. And yeah, I enjoy it. I think he's got a natural charisma about him. Where he's arrogant and stuff like that. And he's decent. I enjoy his matches. So that's one person I want to talk about. I enjoy watching Kenny King. He is he's one of the people that I enjoy watching on TNA, along with Rockstar Spud, EC3. I enjoy a lot too. Austin Aries. Austin Aries, I feel like this guy deserves more in TNA. Like every time, it's like there might be a couple of times where it's like, okay, Austin, he's got this good feud, whatever. And then we don't see him for a couple months or whatever, a couple weeks, and he's just kind of disappeared for a while. And then, you know, he comes back, has a feud or whatever, and then it reminds you, like, fuck, this guy's awesome. Why doesn't he use more regularly on, like, a more consistent basis? He's an awesome wrestler. He's got awesome matches, awesome on the mic. You believe everything he's saying, and he's just, I enjoy him a lot, and I feel like he should have a bigger role in that company. And, I don't know, there's times where it's like, you know, he just kind of gets shafted, and it kind of sucks. But there was that. Just talking about some of my favorites. What else do we got? Taryn Terrell, she returned around this time. She was gone for over a year because she was pregnant, and then she is back now. That's cool. There's this whole Dixie Carter Tommy Dreamer thing that happened. I remember reading about it, and then they like turned it into an angle, or it was an angle the whole time where I think it was Bully Ray was supposed to work House of Hardcore events, which is Dreamer's indie company. And then TNA's like, nope, you can't have them. We changed our minds. And then Dreamer, rightfully so, he gets pissed. It's like, hey, you said we can use them, and then you fucking say they gotta back out? What kind of bullshit is that? So I could see he's rightfully pissed. And then they like turned it into an angle or something. And Dreamer comes out, he cuts a promo on TNA, and like how they pretty much said what everyone's thinking. Like, hey, you've got a lot of talented wrestlers, and you have the potential to have an awesome fucking company, but you keep fucking up and doing stupid shit that sets your company 10 steps back. You know, every time TNA takes 3 steps forward, they take fucking 100 back, and they wonder why. It's like, why aren't we a bigger company? Why can we only get 1,000 fans in the fucking arena? Because you fucked the fans so many goddamn times, and oh, we're gonna bring in someone special. I remember back where it's like, hey, we're gonna bring in every fucking week. It's like, oh, we got a special person, and then it didn't fucking matter because like it wasn't special anymore, and we were constantly getting disappointed. Just a whole bunch of shit. And when a Dreamer was cutting this promo, I was like, yeah, fucking tell her, Dreamer. Say it to her goddamn face. Tell her that TNA sucks, but they have so much potential. Which is pretty, that's, if you want to describe TNA in a sentence, a lot of potential. What would be the rest? Lots of potential, but it's wasted or something like that, right? And he pretty much says that to her. Dix is like, oh, she pretends to sympathize with him, and then she low blows him, and then EC3 comes out and attacks Dreamer. Whatever. Random ass Tommy Dreamer appearing in TNA. I like Tommy, so it's fine, but very fucking random. Next we got Smackdown. Nothing I really want to talk about. Just more building up towards, not Slammiversary, Money in the Bank. Nothing really big to say here. Next we got Ring of Honor. A lot of build up towards a Best in the World, which we're going to talk about in just a second. One thing I want to talk about was the whole Elgin Cole build up for their match at Best in the World. So apparently this happened on a house show or something. It didn't happen on TV. But apparently, I think it was Michael Bennett and Michael Elgin. They wrestled a match. And then after the match, Cole beat him up, and they both beat him up, and then they tied him to the ring ropes. And then they cut his hair, and then they were going to beat the shit out of him. And then Mischief comes out, who's Elgin's wife. And then Cole puts her in the fucking figure 4 leg lock in front of Elgin. And he's fucking freaking out. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that build-up a lot. Because before this, their build-up was kind of like... It wasn't big pay-per-view worthy. You know, it was just kind of like Elgin's on this journey to become world champion. Blah, blah, blah. He's been through it all. It's finally his time. And when they did this, they took the whole match to a new level. Because now it's personal. You know, now it's not Elgin wanting to become world champion. Now it's Elgin wanting to get revenge on Cole for touching his wife. And I enjoyed that. It added a little something to the match that was kind of lacking, so I enjoyed that. So anyways, moving on, let's get to the actual pay-per-view review. So Ring of Honor Best in the World 2014 was a good show. I enjoyed it. A lot of good matches. There wasn't anything bad on the card that I remember. I'm trying to think, because it's been at least a week or two since I watched this, but oh, actually there was a couple bad things. We'll kind of talk about them as we go through. So let's just start out with the first match. We had a 6-man scramble type match. We had BJ Whitmer, Caprice Coleman, Takaki Watanabe. They just called him Watanabe, which I can see because I don't know how to pronounce his first name. ACH, Tommaso Ciampa, Tadarius Thomas, 6-man clusterfuck match. Just a very fast-paced match, just to get the crowd hyped, and I like that. You know, that's like the best way to start a pay-per-view. Like TNA used to do it a lot with their X division. Hey, let's just throw out. They're gonna get the crowd high by doing a bunch of crazy shit, and then we'll take it from there. So. Ring of Honor usually does these as well, and they had a good one here. It's pretty short for having like 6 guys, but whatever. Good match. ACH wins, and I think he becomes the #1 contender for the TV title. I believe he won some sort of. It was some sort of #1 contendership. It was either for the world title or TV title. I think it's TV title. Don't quote me though. So yeah, so actually one thing I wanted to talk about this pay-per-view was this was Ring of Honor's first live pay-per-view on cable. You know, they've done the pay-per-views, they've done the pay-per-views in the past where it's like a delayed taping and then they air it later. But this was the first one on live pay-per-view. It was a big deal for them. And one thing that I want to complain about this pay-per-view was the crowd. Like, when you think of Ring of Honor, their first live pay-per-view, this is a big step for them, right? You think they're going to do it in a city, like, that's a big Ring of Honor town, that, you know, they have a huge fan base in, like, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Toronto. No, they don't do it in any of those places, which I was like, what the fuck? Like, I would have loved Hammerstein Ballroom. Fucking have this there. The crowd would have went ape shit. But they decided to have this in Nashville, Tennessee, which, as far as my knowledge of Ring of Honor, isn't the biggest fan base for Ring of Honor. So some of the things kind of fell flat because it wasn't a big Ring of Honor crowd. And it kind of just, it ruined some stuff on the show, like winners and stuff like that, and reactions to certain things. So that's probably my biggest complaint about this pay-per-view, was doing it in front of Nashville, Tennessee. You know, they should have done like I said, New York or Philadelphia, Chicago, Toronto's a good place for them. But I don't know what the thinking was with Nashville. But whatever. I mean, I could have seen Nashville if AJ Styles was on it, because I think he lives in Nashville. No, he lives in Gainesville, Georgia, I think, or that's where he's built from. I don't know. He lives around there, and then AJ's on the show, and it's like he's a big hometown guy, kind of. But AJ wasn't on the show, so like it didn't make any sense for me. But whatever. That's something I want to talk about. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the lighting. The lighting for this event was pretty shit. Like the arena, I like the arena setup in the big screen, where the ring was. There's a big screen in the back in the crowd, and it looked really cool. I like the color setup with the orange and blue, but there was like this big light, and the camera guy looked at it a bunch of times, especially during the first match, where, you know, like, where a bunch of guys just do dives. He would like aim it up, like, to where the guy was gonna dive, and you'd look into this big fucking light, and it was gigantic. And it fucking burned your eyes because it's so big, and it's a fucking light. You know, you shouldn't look in a light because it's gonna fuck up your eyes. And he did that a few times. It's kind of annoying. He got better by the end, but that was another thing: the lighting and the crowd. 2 shit things for this pay-per-view. But anyways, good first match. ACH won, like I said. Next, we had Jay Lethal versus Matt Taven, Ring of Honor TV title match. Good match. They had a good match. A lot of people didn't like the ending with the whole security guard thing. You know, it was okay. It was very random. I think the security guy is actually part of the House of Truth now or something. And but it just seemed kind of random. But looking back now, and like, oh, he's now part of the House of Truth. Not knowing what I know now. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have liked it too because it was so fucking random. So, it was an okay. They had a good match. Ending was kind of meh. Next we had Roderick Strong versus Cedric Alexander in a submission match. This was their blow-off match to their whole feud. I believe this is their final match. And they had a really good match. They beat the shit out of each other. You know, Roderick, he backbreaked. He fucking hit so many fucking backbreakers on Cedric. He did a fucking crazy... I've never seen this in wrestling. And it looked fucking... There's a reason I've never seen it. It's because it's fucking dangerous. And it looks like it hurt like a motherfucker. So the craziest spot in this match was they were both fighting on the outside, right? And then Cedric runs at Roderick and he fucking backdrops him onto the apron. And then Cedric, like... I don't know if I'm explaining well, but okay, so Roderick his back is to the ring apron. Cedric is running at him. He lifts him up, drops him back first on the apron, and then Cedric, because it's such an awkward bump, he lands like pretty much right on his head. And it looked fucking dangerous. It was fucking crazy. It looked painful. I can't imagine the amount of pain he is in. I recommend this match, and if you can find that spot, definitely check it out, because it was fucking one of the most disturbing things I've seen in pro wrestling. Like, it was, it made me cringe a little bit, but they end up having a good match, really good match. I enjoyed it. Cedric won, and it's a big win for him. Next we got the Briscoes versus Matt Hardy and Michael Bennett. No DQ match. Good match. Briscoes win. There's really not much to say here. There was some interference, and then they turned into a no DQ match, and just a bunch of crazy spots. They brawled all over, did some cool stuff, so nothing really to say here. Next, we are introduced to the newest Ring of Honor superstar, Moose. This was extremely random. So Moose, he's a former NFL football player, and you know, he wants to become a pro wrestler. I read some article, like, it was like, it's my dream to become the Ring of Honor World Champion. I'm like, really? The Ring of Honor? That's very specific. You know, it's very random to me. Yeah, he's a former football player. I don't know if he's still a football player, and he's like, he wants to pursue both. But he's a former NFL football player from what I've gathered, from everything I've read. And, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that Ring of Honor would do this, since, like, that's like a WWE move, right? Like, WWE would take an outsider, like an actor or a model or a football player or some sort of athlete, and then kind of convert them into a wrestler. And to see Ring of Honor take this approach with Moose shocked me. It really did. I was like, that's interesting. They must see something in him or something. I don't know what made them sign him, but I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm kind of interested. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Where it's like, I don't have high expectations, but I'm going to give it a chance. That's a great way to describe it. I don't have any expectations. I will have low expectations, honestly. And but I'm willing to see, you know, some matches. Because there have been some good football players. Or not, I don't know if he's a good football player. But there has been football players that have turned into good to decent wrestlers. So it's not impossible. But we'll have to wait and see how seriously he wants to take his wrestling career. So whatever, they introduce him, new Ring of Honor superstar. Veda Scott comes out, tries to recruit him, but he's like, hey, I just want to watch the show, you know, beat it. So I guess he's going to be a baby face and involved with that whole Veda Scott thing. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good angle for him to start in, but whatever. Next we had, what was next? Kevin Steen, Silas Young. Yeah, that was them. That was next. They had a good match. Steen won. After the match, Steen, you know, he talks about his contract and is like, hey, you know, it's almost over. I'm probably going to be leaving this place. And he says Silas, you know, he's a future Ring of Honor, all that kind of stuff. They shake hands, then Silas attacks Steen. So continuing the feud. It's probably going to be Steen's last. It is Steen's last feud because Steen's in fucking WWE now. And I think their final match was a strap match or something like that. I remember watching a Ring of Honor video where his last 3 matches were one against Steve Corino, one against Silas Young, and I forgot the third one. I want to say Tommaso Ciampa or Jimmy Jacobs, but I'm not too sure about that one. So they end up having another match later, but I don't know anything about it. Next, we had Red Dragon taking on Bad Influence, who is now called The Addiction. I'm probably going to still call him Bad Influence, at least for now, because that's what I've known them as the longest. So, Daniels, Kazarian in Ring of Honor as a tag team, having a shot at the Ring of Honor tag team titles, taking on Red Dragon. Really good match. I enjoyed it. They worked hard. They went back and forth. It was awesome. Crowd wasn't too into it. They did start out pretty slow, but they ended up picking things up a lot in the end. And Red Dragon ended up winning. Kind of a good move, because I don't think Bad Influence is a right team to put it on right away. Like, if it was TNA and they were bringing in a new team, it's like, okay, we'll give them the belts, whatever. But I like it. I like how Red Dragon won. Makes the Ring of Honor guys seem like they're better, instead of having, like, you know, some fucking team just come in and beat them. Not to say that Bad Influence are just some fucking team, because I love Bad Influence, but having them win would have been the wrong move. And then last but not least, the main event, Adam Cole vs. Michael Elgin, a Ring of Honor World title match. Will Elgin finally be able to become the Ring of Honor World Champion, or is he cursed to be the second best wrestler in Ring of Honor? It ended up being a really good match. I enjoyed it. Back and forth, as predicted. A lot of interference with, you know, Maria Kanellis, Mike Bennett. Mischief came out, and they all got involved. And in the end, Elgin won and is the new Ring of Honor World Champion. I really enjoyed this match. Like I said, it was not a big pop from the crowd when he won, and like it wasn't a big deal, you know, to the crowd, because they didn't give a shit, you know. They're not invested in the Ring of Honor product, so this isn't a big it's not a big moment for them. You know, if you're a fan and you've been following Michael Elgin, like, oh shit, is he finally going to become a Ring of Honor World Champion? It's like, oh yeah, woo! But the crowd is just kind of deflated by the end of it, and it didn't come off that well. It didn't really. Overall, Michael Elgin is champion. I like Michael Elgin. I don't know if he's the right person to be champion. I don't know. I like his matches. I just can't see him being, you know, champion material. I don't want to say it like that. Like, that sounds really fucking bad, but I don't know if he's the guy, you know? I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but, like, I don't know if he should be world champion. That's it. So overall, solid pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. If you like Ring of Honor, I definitely recommend it. If you like Ring of Honor, you probably watched it already. If you're looking for some good matches to watch, I recommend Roderick Strong, Cedric Alexander submission match. And I recommend... that's about it. I mean, there's really nothing bad on the show, so I'd kind of just recommend the whole show if you want to watch something. But if you just want to watch, like, oh shit, what's the one match I have to watch? Probably the Roderick-Cedric match, so I'd definitely check that out. So that was it. Overall, a solid pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. 2 good pay-per-views. Slammiversary was good. Best in the World was good. If I had to pick one, that'd be tough. I think they're kind of even, like pretty dead even. I don't know if I could pick one. They're they're pretty dead even for me. You know, like nothing amazing. It was just good. You know, so that's how I felt about both. So anyways, next we got some more WWE. This was the final match leading into Money in the Bank. This I definitely want to talk about, the Vickie Guerrero thing. So on the last episode of Raw, Vickie let Roman in the Battle Royale. He wasn't supposed to. He ended up winning. There's Money in the Bank. I love how that was a one stipulation. Hey, you can do anything you want tonight. You know, Stephanie's sick. I gotta take care of her. But don't let Roman in the Battle Royale. Whatever you do, you can do anything else. You can shit on the ramp if you want. Don't let Roman in the Battle Royale. I thought it was the most ridiculous fucking thing, but whatever. So Roman ends up being in the in the Battle Royale, gets some Money in the Bank. The Authority's pissed. Stephanie's like, hey, I'm gonna fucking... Oh man, Stephanie, holy shit. The things that she said to Vickie, I was like, damn. Like, holy shit. I was offended. Like, Stephanie was like, you know, Vickie, you've been riding Eddie's coattails for years. You know, when he died, we felt sorry for you, so we hired you. And, holy shit. Holy shit. And then they're like, you know, you're pretty big, so we couldn't make you a diva. And I'm just like, God damn. She is saying these things, like, holy shit. But, yeah, whatever. Vickie's like, you know, I'll beg, let me keep my job. And Stephanie's like, hey, you know, if you don't win your match tonight, I'm going to fire you, and you're going to be wrestling me. So. But then, Stephanie, holy shit, she just comes off as really arrogant. And then when she was saying those things, it was like, damn, fuck that bitch, you know? Like, it was crazy. I loved it. I enjoyed it a lot. It's always awesome when, like, you use real life stuff in, like, wrestling angles, because then it's like, holy shit, is that real? Is that fake? Is Vickie offended? I'm kind of offended. Is Vickie offended? Like, Jesus Christ. So, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. What else do we got on Raw? Oh, nothing big to talk about, but I really enjoyed this. Bo Dallas. Bo's my man. He wrestled Titus O'Neil. And whatever, match, it was just a squash match. Bo beats him in like a minute. But after the match, Bo, he's like, you know, Titus, you've been on a losing streak, but you need to get back on the horse. And, you know, whatever, you could be a believer. And then Titus, he just smacks the mic out of Bo's hands. And Bo's like, you know, he's kind of stunned. And then he goes and picks up the mic. And he's like, Butterfingers, I dropped the mic. And it was just a hilarious moment. Bo is the fucking man. I am sad that he's injured right now, because he's awesome. I love Bo Dallas. So yeah, that was just a little thing I enjoyed a lot. They announced another Money in the Bank. Of course, they had the Money in the Bank match for the world title. Now they're going to have one for the contract. So a bunch of people were announced. Seth Rollins, RVD, Ziggler, a couple others. What else do we got? Oh, the Stephanie Vickie match. So for some reason, Stephanie's like, we're gonna have a pudding in a pool match. I'm like, that's weird. Like, of all matches you could fucking suggest, no DQ, anything like that. No, we're gonna fucking put pudding in a pool and I'm gonna wrestle you in there. It's like, okay, whatever. So whatever, she gets a bunch of the divas to come out and get Vickie to throw her in the pool so she can lose. Vickie ends up throwing all of them in the pool, and then Stephanie pushes her in when she's not looking, and then, you know, she wins the match, so she fires Vickie, and then Vickie, you know, ends up pushing Stephanie in to get her final hurrah over the Authority. And I believe Vickie, that was her final show. She's no longer part of the WWE. And it sucks for her, you know. I think she kind of wants to move on from professional wrestling. Which, you know what? Go for it. I'm happy for you. She probably made a lot of money. And I mean, granted, she did look pretty bad on WWE TV sometimes, in the terms of what they had her doing, of like stuff like that, but she probably made a shit ton of money, and shit, she cashed out, shit. So that's good for her, and yeah, it's more heat for the Authority, for Stephanie, for firing Vickie and saying all that shit about Eddie and stuff. So I like it. Worked out. nothing else I really want to talk about on Raw. The biggest thing was the whole Vickie thing, and that was good. Next, we got NXT. We had a couple more debuts. This was the debut of Bull Dempsey and Becky Lynch. I want to talk about the whole Bull Dempsey thing. Bull Dempsey, you know, his debut match. It was blah. It wasn't that good of a match. Bull wins, whatever. And, you know, the match kind of sucked, to be honest. And then the commentators are putting him over. He's like, he's this tough son of a bitch. He could beat up anybody. And that's not how it played out in the match. No, he looked like a punk-ass bitch compared to Xavier Woods, you know? So it just came off as pretty bad when they're trying to build him up as, like, this monster that can beat up anybody. So that was kind of shitty for him. And then the debut of Becky Lynch. I don't even know how it came apart, or it came about. But I'm, like, losing my voice here. I'm sorry. So Becky, I don't know, like something happened and she faced Summer Rae or whatever, and she comes out to like this Irish music, and she, hey, I'm Irish, and you know, I like to do Irish stuff. I don't know. I could see her being paired with fucking Sheamus later on, just because, you know, that's WWE's creative team. But she had an okay match, it was whatever. And then we had a return. It wasn't a debut, it was a return. Enzo Amore back in action. SAWFT soft. He is no longer soft. His leg is now healed. And him and Big Cass back together again. I love that. After the match, okay, so Colin Cassidy took on Sawyer Fulton, whatever. Match was a squash match. Colin wins. After the match, the Legionnaires are like, I don't know why, but we're going to attack you. And then it's like, okay. And then Enzo comes out, makes the save. Great to see Enzo. I love him. He's been truly missed. I love the team of him and Colin Cassidy. They got some great chemistry. And, yeah, I like Enzo and Colin Cassidy. Shit, I can't wait to see more of them. And then the main event for this NXT was Adrian Neville versus RVD, which was a good match. I enjoyed that. I wish it was RVD of, like, 2005. Like, when he was in his prime and, you know, was a boss. I would have loved to see that match. This, like, when you think of RVD and you think Adrian Neville, it's like, oh, fuck, that would be awesome. But, you know, RVD of 2005, not, you know, RVD of now, because it's kind of just whatever, to be honest. So, there's that. Next we got Impact. What do I want to talk about? Oh, there's a bunch of stuff going on. During the show, the whole MVP, he ended up, like, getting out of power. They brought in, like, some TNA board of directors, and they fired MVP. Well, they didn't fire him. They took him out of power. So that was one of the things that happened. We had, what else do we get? That's pretty much the biggest storyline that went on that episode. So they took MVP out of power. He's no longer the director of operations. They end up putting Kurt Angle in the position, and then Angle ends up hiring or rehiring Bobby Roode, and makes a match for next week on the next episode, which is Eric Young getting a rematch for the TNA World Title against Bobby Lashley, and I'm excited to see that one. I am. Next we got Smackdown. Nothing really to talk about except for one thing, which was Wade Barrett getting injured. Fucking Jack Swagger, holy shit! Just so the match was Dean Ambrose versus Wade Barrett. Pretty good match. You know, they're kind of just building up towards the Money in the Bank match, which Wade Barrett was supposed to be in until Jack Swagger fucking got a hold of him and just fucking separated his shoulder. So Wade and Dean, they had a pretty good match. Ambrose won, sorry. After the match, Swagger comes out randomly, and he's like, I'm gonna attack Barrett. And then he attacks Barrett, throws him into one guardrail, not a guardrail, into the barricade. And then, okay, whatever. And then throws him to the other barricade, and then Wade ends up dislocating his shoulder. And if you look at it, I don't know if he went in weird or he got thrown pretty hard. He got fucked up, and you can see he was in a lot of pain. And man, fucking Wade Barrett cannot catch a break. Every time he's like on the up and up, he always suffers an injury. This is like the second or third one. It's definitely the second one. Possibly third. I remember when he injured his arm the other time. Like someone dove on him, and then I think it separated his shoulder or something, or he broke his collarbone. He had an arm injury, and then you know, he's going to be in a Money in the Bank, pretty big spot on the pay-per-view. He's Intercontinental Champion, and then boom, gets injured. So that sucks for Wade. Hopefully, you know, all these consistent injuries don't make his career shorter than it should be, you know. I just read something like Christian, he is now retired. Well, he hasn't officially retired, but he's pretty much not wrestling anymore due to consistent injuries, concussions, and stuff like that. And that sucks, you know, not being able to see Christian anymore. I'd love to see him maybe a GM or something. That'd be pretty awesome. But Wade, that sucks for him. Shit. Injury, out of Money in the Bank, I believe. He's got to vacate the Intercontinental Championship, so that's pretty big. So that was a big injury. Fucking I don't know if Jack Swagger's dangerous or just shit happens, because I remember when he kicked Dolph in the head and then fucked him up, gave him a concussion. So I don't know. It's, you know, it's wrestling, it's not ballet, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. So those are all the reviews for the shows. We got some wrestling news I'm going to quickly go through. First, TNA announced Bound for Glory will take place in Japan. Not really big news because it already happened, but that was, you know, announced around this time. And I want to talk about my first reaction when I heard about this. I talked a little bit about it on Universe, but I can kind of go more in depth here. So when I first heard about this, I was like, why? Why the fuck are you going to Japan for your biggest pay-per-view of the year? UK, I can see that. UK. Canada, maybe. But Japan? Fucking Japan? What the fuck? Like, it was dumb, it was random, you know, and then you learn more about the Bound for Glory card, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be TNA and Japanese guys. And then it's like, oh, the champion's not even appearing. Oh, there's a bunch of stupid fucking matches. Oh, it didn't, you know, it wasn't a TNA pay-per-view at all. It's Bound for Glory, their biggest pay-per-view of them all, and they treat it like a one-night-only pay-per-view. What the fuck? Now, I haven't watched Bound for Glory yet. I won't be for a while. If you have watched it, I want you to write in the comments, did you watch it? Are you interested in it? If you haven't watched it, are you interested in watching it? Or if you did watch it, what'd you think of the show? Stuff like that. I want to get your opinion. Because I know when I first heard this, I was already negative about it. I'm like, dumb, 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 dumb. That's the first thing I thought about. I thought about dumb 8 times. And just, like I said, it was just dumb. It's dumb. And I think it turned out very bad for them. So, I don't know. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you watched it. And then the biggest news, wrestling news around this time was, of course, the release of Vickie Guerrero. Not really a release, but she quit. And so she's gone. And WWE also released Josh Matthews. Which was shocking because, you know, he's always doing those, what's it called? The pre-show. He does the pre-shows for pay-per-views and shit. And, you know, that was kind of his role. And they released him, and I was kind of shocked, because I like Josh Matthews. I think he's a good commentator. You know, whenever he used to commentate on SmackDown, ECW, wherever it be, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought he was very entertaining. He was good at his job. He didn't suck. You know, he's not fucking Taz. But, funny story, he's going to be announcing with Taz now because they've decided to replace Mike Tenay with Josh Matthews. So it's going to be Josh Matthews and Taz, which is stupid because I don't like Taz. And I like Josh Matthews, don't like Taz. But, whatever. And so he's now in TNA, which is cool. But I was very surprised to hear about the release of Josh Matthews from WWE. Caught me off guard, definitely, because that's a guy that I could see being there for like 15 years. I mean, he was already there for a pretty long time. I think he was there since Tough Enough 1. Like, he's had a job, so he's definitely been there for a while. But I could have seen him being there for a long time, doing the pre-show stuff. And now with all this network shit, you know, doing different shows and stuff. But they ended up releasing him, which I was very shocked about. But that sucks. You know, he's now in TNA, and I wish him nothing but success. And I can't wait to see him commentate on TNA. I'm excited about it. So, yeah. So that's going to be it for the week. Not so weekly wrestling review. I'm sorry about that. Come in next time where I know we're going to be reviewing Money in the Bank for sure. There's a TNA One Night Only pay-per-view. The TNA something Outbreak. It was a Japan show with TNA. Not Bound for Glory. It was something else. I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I'm going to look at the card, see if there's anything that interests me, and if there is, I might check it out. If not, then I will probably skip it, because I wouldn't be missing anything anyways, because it has nothing to do with the current product that's going on, so I might just end up skipping it. But yeah, Money in the Bank for sure. 2 weeks with the Raw, SmackDown, Impact, NXT, and Ring of Honor. Whatever wrestling news is appropriate for that time. And yeah, so come back next time where I talk about all that stuff. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch me next time. And until then, guys, peace.